Assalamu alaikum. Real Madrid 2 and Valencia nil. That is the way that we are supposed to close the show, especially our second game against Valencia. You guys know the history. You guys know the Real Madrid and Valencia history. Against a team like Valencia, it's never easy. Against a team, and especially playing away at that kind of stadium and that atmosphere, it's not the best feeling. It's not the best feeling to a game. It's not the best feeling while we were watching the game, nor even like building up towards the game. And honestly, there's a lot of reason why I'm upset the way this game went. But obviously, the only thing that I'm happy about is that we got the full 3 points and we are still closing on the lead with Barcelona, right? They're sitting at number 1 with now 1 point, and we are closing in with only 1 point. This was a huge win. And yes, this performance, like I said, I'm not going to let the performance or the results fool me, blind me. I'm not going to be fed into what this game meant, right? Because overall, right, like I said, it was an important game, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, okay, we got the win. I'm happy the team played well. In all reality, the only thing that went well is us getting this result. Because the whole performance as a whole, if I tell you guys, name me one good play, really, besides the Brahim Diaz pass, what else was there that was a good play? That Carreras lucky dribble and then where he finished it. Really, like, luck played on our side this game. As we know, Valencia should have probably gotten a lot of goals this game. We just have that luck on our side. We have that little bit of hope that I feel like makes Real Madrid play like the way they played today. Because, like I said, number one, there's no sense of urgency, right? Even when we're towards the end of the match where we still needed that one goal, there was no sense of urgency throughout the entire match. The only time where we felt that urgency is when Valencia closed in on us. But even when they closed in on us, there was like a lot of moments where like our players was not pushing them to stop them from crossing the ball, to stop them from passing the ball. Like, for example, there was one moment where a Valencia player was on the left side of the pitch, and he was going up against Valverde and our right back, and I forgot who he was, but it was a new rookie. And honestly, he's been doing well this game. He did well. But nonetheless, they were both just waiting for him to make a move instead of just pressing and pushing the ball. And I do have my notes here, and the first thing that I did want to talk about is that there was no pressing in that first half. Nor in the second half, no pressing. So this team really, if you play against a team like Valencia, we all should know that a team like that does do well, especially when they have nothing to lose, right? They're facing relegation, so they do well against a team who doesn't apply pressure. If you're battling somebody who's hungry and you are battling them like you're acting like you're full, obviously the person who's hungry is going to want it more and is going to try to bring you down. And that is what Valencia tried to do to us. Luckily, like I said, it's by luck that we won and we got the full 3 points. Now, let's first talk about the lineups before we get into the stats. I did want to talk about the way Arbeloa formed this game. We formed this formation, and I'm going to be completely honest. There's a couple of things that was a little off-putting for me, and it's things that I've already mentioned before. As we know, we have Vinicius, who is serving the red card. We have Rodrigo, who is out. We have Jude Bellingham, who's out, and obviously Militao, who's been out for a while. But those are our new people who are out, and especially Vinicius. He's really important to have in this game, but he was serving a red card suspension. And so, look, the back line, I agree with him. Honestly, Valverde could have played on the right back position, but I like the way Arbeloa is making use of the academy players. Now, look, I could talk about a lot of the bad things I could say about Arbeloa. I'm still going to give credit where credit is due, right? Even though we do need signings, right, and we missed out on the winter transfer window, I support the decision of bringing in academy players who are used to their natural positions. Instead of playing, for example, Valverde on the right, Camavinga on the left, Tchouaméni center back, I'm not a fan of that, and I never will be a fan of that unless the player themselves have played in that position or they're comfortable with that position. For example, the first person that comes to mind is Eric Garcia, where he's now playing at center back for a majority of the season. Sometimes switches back and forth to play at a defensive midfield role. But that is something that I do admire about Arbeloa, is for him to do this. Now, another thing that I did want to mention is the way he put Garcia and Mbappe up in front, because as we know, he has Garcia running all the way back, tracking back. And like I said, a striker like Garcia is supposed to stay up no matter what. A winger, a natural winger like Mbappe, is supposed to stay back no matter what, or track back no matter what. And in this game, like I said, we have Garcia, who is just a natural, pure number 9 striker who knows how to head the ball, shoot the ball with both legs, and just knows how to finish and find his positioning naturally as a number 9. And then where we have Mbappe, who is more of a winger, which is why we see him dropping more back compared to other strikers, is because Mbappe is used to that. He's used to making his own runs, getting his own goals. But a number 9 striker is supposed to be there positioning, draw in defenders, be the bait sometimes instead of always trying to look for the goals. And that's Gonzalo Garcia. He's going to be there when we need him to be there, and he's going to be there when we need him to not even score a goal. So that is something that I think Arbeloa has to address. But like I said, Arbeloa is just there to fill in that manager role, because in reality, he's not going to control or have control of that locker room filled with egos, right? He's just filling in that gap. And I think Perez is going to probably try to look for a manager over the summer. Probably, he doesn't want to spend money, so he's definitely going to look for a free manager. But yeah, so something that Perez is going to look at, like I said, he's been looking at results, right? So Arbeloa getting results, getting the winning results, right? He doesn't care about the fact that we're struggling, doesn't care that there's injuries, doesn't care about nothing. He just cares about getting results. And I guess that is the standard at Real Madrid, right? Is that that is the result. You have to succeed with whatever situation you have. But at some point, till when is that going to last? Perez knows this. Everybody in the world knows this. Apparently, I don't know this. I don't know. But there's not a single team that just allows their players and their teams and the club just struggle without any help from the board. And I feel like there's no connection between that. Perez, I feel like, is there for the players to feel comfortable. And that's not the case. You have to feel uncomfortable in order to succeed. And they got too comfortable. And I'm talking about Vinicius and Mbappe, right, where they just want to do their own thing at the club. And like I mentioned in the last video about what Bale said about managing Real Madrid, and it is the truth, but I don't agree with it, because I think times change, tactics change, mindsets change. But most importantly, this is not the same group that Bale played with back then. No matter what, this is not the same group that was in the first Galacticos. This is not the same group, all right? And times change. You can't name me a single club that has this mentality like Real Madrid. And I'm not talking about look back in the history. I'm looking at now, the past 3 years. The past 3 years, there's not a single club that is like Real Madrid with this mindset that have been succeeding, right? If you look at Bayern, I'm sure you guys have seen clips of companies just yelling, screaming, shouting, and humbling his players. We've seen Slot do the same with Liverpool, especially with Mo Salah. We've seen the same with PSG, with Luis Enrique. We've seen these top clubs. We've seen the way the managers act towards the players. But in Real Madrid, it's like the players are above the manager. So I don't want to repeat myself. I feel like I'm getting deja vu. I feel like I'm repeating myself from last video and the video before that. But let's talk about this game. Something that Real Madrid couldn't do, they couldn't deal with pressure. Whenever Valencia was putting pressure on them, I don't know if you guys noticed, but we would just boot the ball and hope for somebody to get it. And if you guys didn't notice, right, the way we got our 2 goals, it was not through a smart technical play. You could argue the second goal, but the first goal, I don't know how Carreras even got through everybody. It was not smart dribbling. I feel like the Valencia players were just missing the ball, trying to tackle him. But beautiful finish. I'm happy he did get the finish. But there's no creativity, which is something that I listed. There's nothing creative in the first half, especially in the first half, that Real Madrid did. Nothing. There's no attack that was creative. Their defending was not strong. There was no strength in what I was looking at. There was no strength. Whenever we got the ball and we were attacking, there was no creativity in terms of passing the ball out of nowhere, over the top. We had none of that. And yes, I know we're missing key players, but even with key players, I feel like I've been repeating myself since the past couple of videos and the past couple of matches that we've watched Real Madrid. So there's a lot of things that I could go into, that I could, speak in depth about, but I just want to keep it clear and simple. Starting in the second half, right? And also we played slow, very slow in the first half. Our tempo was very slow, which is why we played at Valencia's tempo, their momentum. They were controlling everything, honestly. But moving on to the second half, I was surprised that Arbeloa didn't make any single subs probably until the 70th minute, which is mind-blowing to me. With the result and with the performance that we had in the first half, why was there no substitutions? For example, yes, I know he subbed in Trent. Trent's coming back from an injury. He subbed in Brahim, right? These guys are supposed to come in way earlier. You see in the 76th minute, so the last 15 minutes of the match is when he made substitutions. And we have good players sitting on the bench. Now, I don't know if Alaba is healthy. I don't know if Carvajal is fully healthy. Garcia, Ceballos. I mean, we're very limited. We are very limited. But that's when you should pull players from the academy and just put them out there. I'm willing to take that risk because, like I said, this season so far for Real Madrid, I don't see it being successful. I could be shocked. I could be surprised. Probably something is going to shock me if we end up winning something. But as of what it looks like right now, Real Madrid are just not there. The spark is not there at Real Madrid. These are the dark days. All right. So yeah, something about the substitutions really messed up with my head. I still put down no pressing and welcome back Trent, right? We've seen Trent play, hopefully, because last time he started against Atletico Madrid and I was not a fan of that. Hopefully he doesn't get injured. Hopefully there was no injury. Hopefully he was comfortable playing. He got subbed on in the last 14 minutes. He looked good. The passing was good. The way he passed the ball, like I said, Trent is very important for this team. We really do need Trent. We need Trent. We need his passing. We need his crosses. So if he manages to stay healthy, that's another superstar that we need for this team to be successful. Now, like I said, Valencia, for example, in this game, they really missed a lot of chances. I don't think they even played bad, but it was just they didn't do enough. I feel like they didn't capitalize on moments where Real Madrid messed up. For example, Dean Huijsen losing the ball. For example, Asensio not doing a good clearing. For example, Carreras. For example, Carreras won man of the match probably, but in all honesty, it could have went to anybody on that pitch or maybe 7 players on that pitch. I like the way Brahim Diaz, right, when he received that ball. I like the way on the counter when we play fast. And I see, from what it looks like, where you guys can tell me if I'm wrong or not, to me, it looks like our only chance of scoring is maybe through set pieces, corners, counterattacks. Open play goals, right? Open play goals where, we're being creative, we're passing. There's, a less chance of that now that Xabi Alonso is gone and his tactics. If you guys really look back at the matches that we had Xabi Alonso, especially in the beginning of the season, those few matches that the players were actually listening to Xabi Alonso and what he wanted them to do, you could see a clear difference between this and now. Because not even trying to be tactical or anything, but you could see the way the team is formatted in the match, right? Their formation is really horrible. They're playing more towards the left side, and the entire right side is just open. If the defenders really want to leave the middle and the right side open, they could just go and defend on the left side. Because there's nobody. There's no, our striker is playing sometimes on the left. Mbappe is playing all the way in the left. We have Brahim Diaz when he got something on the left. Camavinga left. Arda Güler going to the left. There's no balance. Everybody's going to the left. And guess what? Guess what that is. Guess what that is? Carlo Ancelotti ball. Where he also gave them the freedom. I'm going to refer always back to the Vinicius Jr. documentary. He gave them the freedom. He's more like, okay, do whatever you want. Just make sure that you guys know what you're doing. That is what's happening right now with Arbeloa. He's just there. He's going to host trainings. He's going to host these gym sessions, health, maintain your health. But tactical-wise, on the pitch, formation-wise, no, there's none of that. You guys can't say anything. I don't think Arbeloa has anything. And if anything, go back to his academy days where the record speaks for itself, honestly. But yeah, like I said, looking at the table now, Valencia is at 17th place, and they are very close to the relegation of 3 positions, depending on Rayo Vallecano, if they do get the win for their next game, and Levante as well. And we are 1 point away. Atletico Madrid lost today, so that increases the gap, which is very good. So now it's looking like it's between Real Madrid and Barcelona. More than 10 games left to go. So there's still hope for us to at least win the La Liga. But like I said, if we are the ones chasing Barcelona, it's going to be very tough for a team like Barcelona, who is on fire since last season, to drop points. All right. So we need a miracle. That's just me being honest. We need a miracle. And also, if we maintain this level, it will all come down to May when we go up against Barcelona again. Depends on our injuries. Depends on who's available. Depends on who's not. Depends on if Perez decides to do anything, right? But we know Barcelona. They're more consistent than us. We know the level they're coming in at. They're still in the top 8 in the Champions League. They're still competing for the other cups. They won the Supercopa. It's looking like a domestic dominance from Barcelona as of right now. But like I said, I don't know. Real Madrid can just pull a shocker. They say this club is filled with miracles. So it's not my saying. It's that one commentator saying. So we just got to wait and see. But Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What did you think about this performance? Were you proud of Real Madrid? Were you not? Were you sad that Valencia lost? Were you sad that Real Madrid didn't do good? Put all your thoughts, feelings, emotions in the comments below, and I'm going to be reading every single one of them. Thank you very much for everybody who subscribe, who watch, who like. And if you guys are not subscribed, make sure that you do, because we are closing in on 300 subscribers. And follow on all socials at Riyal Roots. And until then, Salam Alaikum.